and you're hoping for the great one. And for the most part, they're decent, but they're not. The great one is like few and far between,
Hmm.
like the Dark Knight, and uh, so this one, they got built up as the great one, and I don't know if it was. I would say it's not. There are a lot of people that said it's might be better than the Dark Knight. I don't think it's better than the Dark Knight.
No.
I don't think it's. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite X-Men movie. Um, the X2, like I watched a little of that the other day, and I'm not sure it holds up to me, but in my memory, that's the one I like the best.
Right.
Um,
This movie, I mean, it doesn't really play like the other superhero movies at all. Really, I mean, there's kind of this element of mutants and whatnot, but like it's. I don't know. It didn't really feel like the other X Men movies at all to me. Even the Wolverine movies, it's kind of doing its own thing for sure.
which is good because those
Yeah.
movies were terrible. like, like that's what worried me about this movie was the same guy that did this movie did the second Wolverine movie,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of people like that better than obviously the first Wolverine movie, which is just outright terrible. Uh, but this one, that second one, I didn't like at all,
Right.
and so like I'd give that one like a 6 out of 10 maybe. This one would be more near 8, I would say, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's a really weird, like I don't like to rate things like that because it's art, but uh, like it pleasantly surprised me that the same guy made those two movies, and this one was substantially better than the last one.
So I never actually read like. So like before this movie came out, everyone was kind of like, "What are they gonna do?" And I think I had never actually read the Old Man Logan um, story from. It's been a few years now, I guess. Um, I did read like the first issue. I got like Free Comic Book Day was giving out like those True Believers or whatever one time, and it was like
Yeah,
you get like the first issue of it. And I do remember it was like kind of set up like a road trip, so they kind of kept some of that. But I imagine like the story is. I remember there's like a lot of Avengers and stuff in it, so like they had to probably. There wasn't a lot of similarities beyond that, maybe, and Wolverine being like an old guy.
yeah. No, I think it was pretty much like, and I heard there's a lot of like Easter eggs in there for Old Man Logan. I read Old Man Logan when it came out,
Yeah,
um, so I can't say what those Easter eggs are. I missed most of them, which is fine with me because I don't need normal like that stuff. I don't like anyway.
yeah.
Uh, but Old Man Logan was like really like post-apocalyptic, and
Hmm.
what I kind of liked about this movie was it was like a dystopia that was just kind of a crappier version of our world, like
It's a believable dystopia.
yeah, it was like okay, everything's just kind of falling apart, but there's still people out getting limo rides and like yelling at immigrants or whatever. but so it's not like the world's like gone, like Mad Max, like
Right,
Old Man Logan is, where it's
right.
all
It's
feudalism and
yeah. There's all these fiefdoms and stuff, right? Yeah.
yeah, and Old Man Logan was like built up on the gimmick that like Wolverine didn't pop his claws until the very end. It's like the whole thing was like he was like
Okay.
he was like
Like a
Clint Eastwood in
pacifist.
Unforgiven.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I don't want to live this life. I don't want to live this life. And he's kind of like that in the new movie, but in the new movie, he pops his claws and chops people's hands
Yeah.
off and stuff within the first 3 minutes of
Yeah.
the
His
movie. So,
first scene.
yeah, so they don't use that gimmick, which is fine with me. And I wasn't a huge fan of that comic book. It wasn't my most. I thought some of the art was good, but it wasn't my favorite story. So I actually liked this better than I liked the comic.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if most people would agree with me, but there's certain like hints at it, because there's kind of a hint that like maybe Wolverine, uh, to spoil things and get ahead of myself. There's a hint that like Wolverine like killed the X-Men, um,
Oh,
and
I
that's
guess I missed that.
well, like in the very beginning, like Charles is there and he says, "What did you do? What did you do?" And then you kind of later find out what really happened. What it
Oh,
wasn't Wolverine. It
yeah.
was, and that's what happened in Old Man Logan. In Old Man
Okay.
Logan, uh, he got hypnotized or telepathically convinced the X Men were enemies, and he just killed them all. And so that's why he went into hiding and didn't pop his claws and anything.
Okay.
So that's a bunch of trivia that no one cares about. I'm just
No, that's
talking
cool.
about 3 4 minutes.
Yeah, the thing I really liked about this movie was the I don't even know the guy's name, but like the main villain, the guy that was hunting them,
The Pierce guy.
the guy with like the robot arm.
Yeah,
So he was just like a straight up bastard the whole movie. He was like intimidating necessarily, but like you knew he meant business and like was just like a troublemaker, and like those are great villains usually. So
I really liked him too. Like, and it's kind of surprised me because I read some reviews and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, it's just like a comic book movie. The villains are weak." And that's been like one of my complaints about like the vast majority of like the Marvel movies and stuff.
yeah,
This one, I'm like, oh, this guy's charismatic and he's a good actor,
uh-huh.
and like he's playing it in an interesting way. He plays Pierce, which is a character like he's the head of the Reavers, which is like a obscure kind of group from the comics
Mm-hmm.
of cyborgs and stuff. But he just seems like he's like a bastard, but he's like charismatic. He has a good way of saying his lines, which make like when he's on the screen, you're focused on him and you're interested in him.
Yeah,
And that's like it's so weird to have in these comic book movies. Like even in the last X-Men movie, they had Oscar Isaac, who is one of my favorite actors, like working right now.
mm-hmm.
And it's like they made him uninteresting, but this guy was. Uh, Anytime he was on the screen, I'm like, all right, I'm invested in this.
Yeah. And I thought that's when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, this guy doesn't. He just kind of looks cheesy or whatever. He's just gonna like a soldier dude, but yeah, he was interesting, and I just liked how jerky he was the whole movie.
Yeah,
Just I love that part when he's running around the back of that truck and he lets out the Hugh Jackman clone. And
yeah,
he's like, "Showtime, bud," or something like that. It like immediately like runs and hides like after he lets the guy out or something like that. It's just that was great. I thought.
yeah. And I like that just that first scene with him getting in the back of the because like the movie starts off, Wolverine's a limo driver. I don't know how they decided on limo drivers, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of
They
a
just wanted
weird.
to mention he had a Chrysler about 12 times. I did
Yeah.
mention that.
So he's a limo driver and he's like driving people around, including like you find out this movie's a hard R really soon in because the first scene people are messing with his limo and he just kills them very viciously and like the way everyone wanted to see Wolverine kill somebody. Um, and then he's driving people around and you see breasts, you see all this stuff, you see these guys yelling at immigrants outside the car and yelling USA USA.
Yeah.
Uh, Stuff like that, and you're like, okay, this is an R-rated movie,
Yeah, and they
Right after
immediately
that,
drop about 12 F bombs during that first fight, too.
yeah, like every other word's like the F bomb, and like they went, uh, uh, yeah, they had a lot of fun using that, making Wolverine say that and everyone else.
Yeah,
But
Professor X.
the first scene with Pierce when he gets in the back of the limo and he's charming, he's
Mhm.
just like, oh, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, right.
I'm just looking for this girl if you can help me out, and I'm like, from that moment on, I was on board with that character. I thought he did a great job. So, uh, with kind of a role that I think if it hadn't been acted so well, would be just a boring henchman type character.
Hmm.
So,
Kind of the other big scene in the first act is when they go to pick up X-23, and so it's set up like Wolverine's trying to protect this girl, basically gets kind of roped into having to protect this girl, and that's it's some form of X-23 from the comics, I guess, but she's like very young, He's like 8 years old or something compared to like I think the comics is like more like a teenager
Mhm.
type character. But they kind of start off with this huge fight scene um, at their compound, which is like this, I don't know, just kind of desert uh, shack with kind of like a factory or something that they're hiding, or like a water tower that they're hiding the Professor X in.
Yeah.
So like I
So
guess like immediately like you kind of think of like Kick Ass or some of this other stuff that's had like young
yeah, Hannah. Yeah.
pre-possessing girls and killing grown men. Kind of a trend the last 10 years or something. But how do you think it stacked up compared to something like Kick Ass for as far as little girl fights?
Well, like, here's the thing: is like Kick-Ass is a weird movie for me because I really, really like that movie.
Yeah.
I love Nicolas Cage. I think he's fantastic in that, and I love Matthew Vaughn, who directed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that guy is he's very influenced by Tarantino, and I think Tarantino is the best action director right now. Like the scenes in Django Unchained and uh, Kill Bill and stuff like that. Just, I mean, are such epic displays of violence that, and Matthew Vaughn's very influenced by that, and so the action scenes in Kick-Ass are hard to beat.
Yeah.
I think by this movie, I don't think this movie has better action scenes than Kick-Ass does. There's 3 really good, great action pieces in Kick-Ass, and then he later did The Kingsman with that great scene with Colin Firth in the church. That's like 20 minutes of killing people to Freebird. That's 20 minutes is exaggeration. However long Freebird is, like
the Westboro Baptist Church or whatever. Yeah.
So compared to that, no, I don't think it stacks up to that. But that's a hard sell because I really that was a movie I went into with no expectations and ended up liking quite a bit. It was better than the second Kick-Ass movie, which was terrible. But the action scenes were good, and I really liked that first action scene at that compound.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of cool stuff. It was a weird movie in a way, to kind of jump topic to topic. But the beginning of that, like I was telling, how there's that violent scene in the beginning where like Wolverine's stabbing people through the chin and cutting people's arms off and stabbing people in the chest. Just really violent scene, and you're like, oh, this is what we wanted to see because it's the first time it's been bloody and gory and but it was interesting because you had that fulfillment that everyone's like, oh, this is the Wolverine from the comics on the screen and he's just slashing people away. But then for a lot of that movie, he's just kind of like a henpecked older dude. Henpecked is a bad word because it's that's a bad phrase. Forget I said that. But he's just kind of a beaten down guy, like almost in a midlife crisis with a father figure with Alzheimer's or some similar disease, and
he's battling his own disease.
Yeah, he's battling his own disease, so he's sickly and doesn't move very well and is on the verge of death. And so they do a lot of stuff in this film where you'd expect him to do something actiony, and he does, but only up to a point. And the scene that I remember from that first fight is there's a car chase scene where they're trying to get away, and he like drives through like a fence that's on the border,
right?
And it's some sort of border fence, and he drives right into that, and then the car just gets stuck on the fence. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, you weren't expecting that, you were expecting him to escape.
Right.
So then he just has to like back up.
Yeah, you think he's gonna get out and maybe like cut the fence or something, but no, they just like back the car up.
Yeah. So that's kind of what made it a kind of an interesting movie too, is because it gives you that you know, that violence with Wolverine, but it also makes him, you know, kind of past his prime, and you just see him.
Yeah, that's kind of what struck me too, because like you have a pretty good basis for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He's pretty much been the same character in all the movies. You know, I mean, he's been a little different, but like he kind of, he's a lot more, happy and charming, I guess, in the other movies. Where it's, this they don't. There's none of that in this movie. It's like it almost feels like he's a different character, and like, yeah, obviously something's gone down. All the X-Men are dead, so he's like bummed out or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't. He feels like a different character than the other times you've seen him as Wolverine. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back to like he's a limo driver, and I'm sure that was picked for a reason. Like, who's a limo driver? It's kind of the same reason Martin Scorsese picked a taxi driver. He's someone that's invisible, basically.
Yeah.
And his job is not to interact with the people around him, to just drive. And so he's doing a workaday job. He's sick. His father's sick. He's trying to save up money to buy a boat. like this is stuff you'd see in like a slice of life drama. About a guy having a midlife crisis. And in a way, it is that. So I kind of admire the way they did that, because the easy thing to do would be like, okay, we got an R-rated Wolverine movie. He's just going to be the biggest badass that ever walked the face of the earth.
Yeah, he's just going to walk around, okay, bub, And there's one scene, there's a scene in the second act where he's helping the farmer out, where you get like that Wolverine from the first movies, where like the good old boys come to like, give him problems when they're trying to turn that pump back on.
Mm-hmm.
And you get like that Wolverine from the first movies, where he's just kind of has he has a quick wit to say something to him, and he's basically saying, "Don't mess with us."
Yeah.
And then he backs it up, which where the other times he's kind of like, "Oh God, we got to fight," So, but like that part, he's kind of like looking for a little bit of action. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to get back to like, I guess the plot. It's basically a road trip movie.
Yeah.
But one of the things that obviously is a big part of this movie is Patrick Stewart is Professor X, and he does a fantastic job, as he almost always does. He's a great actor. But he's basically got dementia. So his mood swings wildly.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's childlike. Sometimes he's
angry.
Yeah. Sometimes he's angry. Sometimes he's fatherly. It just depends on, I guess, the way his brain is in any certain scene. So I thought that was played really well. Because it'd be very easy just to play him like Grandpa Simpson.
Yeah.
Just constantly senile and stuff like that, but to show what I thought was a pretty accurate depiction of dementia,
that was awesome. And that's another character that's been pretty one note through all these X-Men movies, like pretty even keel, as far as the Patrick Stewart version of the character.
Because let me tell you, Patrick Stewart, in all those movies, Patrick Stewart is obviously the leader and the guy in charge, and that's pretty much how he's been portrayed in media. Professor X in this movie, partly due to his brain disease, but makes the absolute worst choices out of anybody in the movie. Like, the only thing he does is he gets Wolverine, obviously, to save X-23. But like every other decision that he makes in this movie is terrible. He decides to stop taking his medication, which, it leads to a huge disaster. And we find out, later on that caused something to happen with the X-Men, which they leave US, and then he gets Wolverine to help the family, and then he wants to stay at his house for longer, and just everything he does is just almost just a disaster. So I thought that was kind of an interesting choice too. I mean, like you have this Wolverine that's just beaten down and like half the man he used to be, and then you have Professor X, the capable villain or capable leader, like just becoming this, you know, uh, this man with dementia that just makes awful choices and screws everyone's life up.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was really. I didn't know he was gonna have such a large part. So like that was really cool. He's in a lot of the movie.
Yeah,
The first half at least.
I did like how like I was reading Hugh Jackman decided after this movie that he was going to be done playing Wolverine. And who knows if that'll stick yet or not, because you said that before, you know.
Hmm.
But this movie seems like a finale.
Right.
Um, so Patrick Stewart came out and he said, "Well, after I watched this movie with Hugh Jackman, I'm done playing Professor X. I don't want to play Professor X anymore because I want to leave on a high note too." And I thought that was, that's probably true. Like this is going to be the high note for both of them. So anyway, like I'm reading through like entertainment news, and then it's like, well, Patrick Stewart would be open to a cameo in Deadpool too. And I'm like, oh, that's weird, you know. And then it was like Patrick Stewart would be open to playing Professor X again in the Legion TV series. I'm like, wait a minute, like those are literally the only two X-Men related projects going on right now. So I don't know like, what exactly he's retired from.
Patrick Stewart gotta eat. uh,
But
so
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, how did you feel? Because if there's one thing I didn't love about the movie, well, there's a couple things, but one of the things like I didn't like a lot was the Hugh Jackman clone, uh, as like kind of the guy for Hugh Jackman to fight. Which there probably needed to be someone for Hugh Jackman
Mm-hmm.
to fight, because that was our complaint about Rogue One. I thought was
Yeah,
we never had like any like ninjas for Donnie Yen to fight or anything. There was no sub boss or whatever, and so I know they needed something. I was kind of taken aback though when it like ended up being a straight up Hugh Jackman clone.
yeah, it was kind of they kind of set the stage for that because they said, well, we need to build a weapon without emotions and everything like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it kind of threw you for a loop because it wasn't until the midway point of the movie where he even shows up, and it's a really weird scene in where he shows up.
right.
So you're not expecting it to start with. It's like it's put in there for like shock purposes.
Yeah, there's a scene where Professor X is kind of lamenting his choices in the bedroom, and it's dark. He's woken up in the middle of the night, and he's kind of lamenting some choices. Someone's in the room that's not Logan, but you can't like you get the feeling it's not Logan in the room, but you don't know who it is. But it ends up it is Logan, but it's a clone of Logan, and he doesn't look old like the current Logan. He looks kind of younger or whatever. But yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, I understand
but
what they're going for. It's a pretty obvious metaphor,
yeah,
like man fighting himself.
right.
So
And I will
and
say
they,
they don't dwell on it. I mean, he's basically in two scenes. He had two big
yeah,
fight scenes. It's not like they don't even let him say a line. I don't think. You know,
no,
so they don't dwell on it. He really is just there for Jackman to fight. So I mean, I do appreciate that about it.
I wish they would have dressed him the same way they did in that X Men Apocalypse, like that most ridiculous, like that scene where he just like slashes everybody and it's great, and then he just like you see him and he's in those like shorts, and then he just like runs out.
Oh yeah, with the headgear and everything.
Yeah, they should have done that again. They should have just used him the same costume. I heard a lot of people say that though. Like everyone I've talked to that's seen the movie has said the same thing. They didn't like X-24 or whatever they call that clone.
Yeah,
It didn't bother me that much, to be honest, because I think you need somebody to fight. I don't like de-aged actors and all that,
yeah,
but uh, it's like him or Sabretooth. You need somebody with claws
right.
to fight, especially in a movie like this where. Uh, where I guess it's you want to show like the actual damage of these fights for the first time,
Mhm.
seeing people get stabbed and slashed and gouged and all sorts of claw related synonyms. Uh, and so you want to see that, so you gotta have somebody to do that, and I guess this is the easiest way to do it.
Yeah,
You know,
without a saber tooth
yeah,
or something else.
because they screwed Sabretooth up twice already, so can't really bring him back again. So
Yeah. Um. it- so yeah, and so after so the kind of the third act of the movie is also like I'd say like it kind of is probably it's is it's not a great third act, I would say, because it gets kind of I don't know, like Peter Panny or like Lost Boys or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
There's some weird stuff going on kind of towards the end of the movie where like
All right. Yeah. No, I will say that I watched this movie very late at night. Like I
uh-huh.
caught a late show, like 10:30, 10:45 or whatever. And the scene the time between the farmhouse and when they got to where they're going seemed to me to drag quite a bit. Because there's not really a lot of action scenes in this movie. It's mostly not action scenes. But I do want to go back to the second act for
Oh
like
yeah,
just a little bit,
sure.
because there's basically what happens in the second act is Wolverine and are the middle of the movie. Is Patrick Stewart and X-23 and Logan are all going. Logan T. Wolverine are going to find this place called Eden, and it turns out like Wolverine finds out Eden's like because there's this weird gimmick they use where like Wolverine's a comic book character in so like all the stuff that we see about Wolverine also exists in their world because I guess the X-Men got really popular and they made comic books and whatever.
Yeah, they marketed them.
So he helps out this family get some horses back into carriage, and they invite him to go uh, to their house for a meal. So they all go there and they pretend to be a family. Professor X is the grandpa, and Wolverine's the dad, obviously, and then the kid's the kid. And there's the farm family is a man and his wife and their son. And so like Wolverine keeps being like, "Hey, we got to get going," and like Professor X is like, "No, let's stay around for dinner." And then they're like, "Well, we should probably be going after dinner." And like Professor X is like, "No, we should probably stay the night." And then like Wolverine's like, "Oh man, we should get going." And he's like, "No, just let her sleep for a couple hours." And so what happens is this Wolverine clone comes and he murders everybody,
Right.
like not just Professor X, but the whole family, including the kid, on screen. Um, so it's pretty brutal.
Hmm.
Uh,
But you
and
know it's coming like almost from the as soon as you know they're going over to their house for dinner. You're like, no, don't
yeah,
do that.
you know it's coming, and it's the entire time you're just like, and then Professor X keeps screwing it up because you're just like, oh no, you probably should be leaving now.
Right. You're
Like,
like, wow, they're not gonna kill him. Like,
yeah. So I thought that was weird. Like, but anyway, two things with that scene. I liked two things in particular because they go to this place and they're getting messed with by the good old boys, like you said.
uh-huh.
But there's like this little piece of dialogue where he goes like, "Oh, the government's making our food now or whatever with their processed corn,"
Yeah.
uh, which I guess is like in there for some political reasons,
Yeah. They
whatever.
don't like corn syrup.
Yeah, Monsanto or whatever. Whatever people are like all fired up on, and I am by no means taking any stand on that whatsoever. I'm just saying that's in there, and but the reference, what you get is for some reason there aren't any mutants anymore, right?
Hmm.
This X-23 is like the first mutant that's appeared since like years. Uh, And so, you put two and two together and be like, oh, they put stuff in the food, because the government's making the food and everything, and they're just putting stuff in there. And
Yeah,
That's what causes the mutants to die off.
suppress
But they don't
the
say that,
energy. Yeah,
which I really liked. I
that's
thought,
good.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the other thing is, they never said what happened to the X-Men. So when Patrick Stewart's given that speech before he's killed by the clone, he acknowledges that he's the one responsible. And they say that there's a scene where Professor X has a seizure, and he because of his telepathy, he causes everyone in the casino to like freeze, and
Mm-hmm.
which I kind of liked because that always creeped me out in the other movies when you just make like everyone in an airport like freeze. That seems like a huge invasion of other people's lives.
Right.
So I kind of like that to be like, oh yeah, no, this is actually a bad thing when he does this. And that's a cool action scene because Wolverine has to fight through it,
Yeah, and
and
he's killing the frozen guys, and
yeah.
yeah,
But there's a news broadcast where they say, "Oh, this happened in Westminster once before, and you know,
yep.
160 people were hospitalized, and like 7 mutants died."
Mm-hmm.
And then during that speech, he says, "Well, I realize I'm the one that did it. It wasn't you. I'm the one that killed the X-Men or whatever." But they never tell you how. They never tell you what happened. So I like that too. I like a little ambiguity in my movies. I don't like everything spelled out. So
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
You don't want to see the flashback to Westminster.
No, I mean I like how they, and I'm sure they filmed that. I'm sure they did.
Mm.
Or they filmed an explanation or whatever. But like, did he cause Wolverine to kill him? Did they just die from the telepathy? Was there some other thing that happened?
Yeah.
I like how they left it vague. But the main reason I wanted to get back to this point is my big complaint about this movie, if there is one, is it's so self-serious that it gets to the point of ridiculousness at one point. And after Wolverine dies, he gets buried out by the water, and there's this big scene where
After Professor X dies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, did I say Wolverine?
Yeah.
After Professor X dies, they're burying him out by the water, and he's like, "Oh, it's not the boat, but it's by the water." And Wolverine's breaking down, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's got the kid with him, and then they show him, and he's like beating up his truck with a shovel. And it just goes on, and he's like destroying this truck with the shovel just out of like anger and despair,
Uh-huh.
But it was like too far over the edge to me, and I started laughing in the theater because it reminded me of that part like in Anchorman when he's like, "I'm in a glass cage of emotion,"
Yeah.
And then he just he faints, and
yeah, that part's pretty wild. Very faints. Of course,
yeah,
he has been like fighting the Hugh Jackman clone before and stuff, but.
Yeah, but just the scene of him just beating down that car with that shovel and then just fainting afterwards, I thought it was unintentionally funny. Because it probably needed a little levity at that part or something. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Which it seems like there's potential there because it ends up that X-23 steals the fisherman's truck or something like that, and so there was probably some kind of levity to be had there.
Yeah.
Kind of I'm gonna steal. I'm a little girl and I'm stealing your truck scene. Which
Yeah.
they don't really have. It just implies that they just kind of imply that's what happened.
Yeah, they pretty much said that happened. Hopefully, she didn't kill the guy.
Yeah, that's what you're kind of wondering. How did she get the keys?
Yeah, yeah, because during that scene is where you find out the whole movie she's silent and she's kind of savage and she's kind of portrayed what Wolverine would be without any civilization. Because she almost kills a gas station clerk over some Pringles.
Yeah.
And so then when they show her get the fisherman's truck, because of that scene, you think, oh, did she kill that fisherman?
Yeah, that's what you're thinking. So they did. That was a good job not to.
Yeah, I don't think they were intending that, but I don't know for sure. But
yeah, it works though. Yeah.
Yeah, but then she starts talking. And I will have to say, I liked her better when she didn't talk. And that sounds bad, but because all of a sudden, like after we find out she can talk, she can not only talk, but she's able to like quip and
Yeah, she's like almost wise, right?
yeah,
Which is like not how she's been acting at all.
yeah, she almost killed the dude over Pringles.
Yeah, but she has like wisdom and stuff. Like, yeah.
So yeah, you shouldn't be murdering people for snack food. If you have this amount of wisdom, you should at least be murdering people over real food,
Yeah,
like I don't know, gas station pizza.
combos. Yeah.
Yeah, combo. Like no, you should not murder anyone listening to this. You should not murder anybody over combos. Please, we do not condone murder over combos, at least. Uh,
So, did you think there was actually going to be an Eden when they got there, or did you think it was just going to be desert and there would be like a final showdown in the desert?
well, I thought there pretty much had to be because they set it up like Wolverine's already telling people there's no Eden because what happened it was in a comic book, so he figures they just told this kid about Eden to make her feel better.
Yeah,
But once he started saying there's no Eden and telling, I mean, at that point you got to figure, oh, there's got to be an Eden.
yeah,
You know, it's not gonna be like Mad Max or whatever. Because in Mad Max, you go through the entire movie thinking that place is there, right?
hmm
Or most of those movies where they go, you can't tell them it's not there and then show up and it's not there. You got to flip the script somewhat.
right.
So that was pretty much exactly what I expected was that it wasn't going to be uh, in yeah, like paradise, but it was going to be where they all decided to meet up,
hmm
which is much what it was. Um, so there's all these other little kid mutants there, and the more kids that are in movies, the
Yeah,
not better it gets.
right.
I'd say that this movie is uh, yeah, not an exception to that rule.
No, it gets a little, yeah, just a little much at the end there with all these little kids have different powers and they're just kind of, running. There's a part where like they're all running away, including X-23, and they're acting just like kids.
Yeah,
They're screaming and kind of running like they're almost like they're playing. This is like the same girl who like fought like 20 people by herself earlier.
yeah,
I'm like, why
yeah.
doesn't she
Like,
turn around and kill these people? Like she's just kind of running with the rest of the kids.
and they're just like grabbing them, like with like it's almost like they have butterfly nets. Like, with from the little cartoon. Just grabbing people with butterfly nets. And it was really like I don't know that part. Like, not to get into politics at all, but it's weird to have a scene in a movie where the government's rounding up like literally Mexican children, like running for the border. And you watch it and you're like, oh man, this is uh, I wonder what everyone else in the audience is thinking of this moment. Like if it's like registering with anybody or what.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean yeah, they have some magical serum that makes Wolverine young again for just a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of it heals him up, and it supposedly puts him in like kind of a berserker age, but not like a true one. Like he's not killing his friends. He's not also killing the kids at that point. So
Ah,
like that's what I thought might happen because like they dropped this line about what's that medicine doing? It's like, well, that'll give you the fight crazies or something. I think he says something like that. I'm like, oh, they're gonna put him in a berserker rage at the end here, and he's gonna start killing everyone. But he's just killing bad guys still at the end. So
yeah, and then it wears off right before he fights the clone,
yeah,
and which is kind of like understandable for dramatic reasons, but you would have liked to see like I said, it kind of flips your expectations of wanting to see that huge fight.
yeah,
Um,
because it ends up like the clone pretty much kicks his ass, and the little kids save him at the end. Well, at least temporarily save him
yeah,
with like some like telekinesis or something.
yeah, and then they take care of our dude Pierce. He gets taken out
Oh
by
yeah,
those
that part is
kids.
kind of weird too.
Yeah, it was. It was.
They're like all using their powers simultaneously. Like freezing him and covering him with dirt. Yeah,
Yeah,
what else would they
strangling
do?
them with plants.
Electrocuting him.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
really wanted to make sure he was dead.
he's having a tough time, but yeah, it was kind of a it was
Yeah,
supposed to be poetic justice or whatever. He created
yeah,
them,
because
and
he's
they were killing him with what he's created. But
yeah, and he was like killing them. Like they showed flashbacks, like he killed some of the kids and stuff. So you're supposed to be like, yeah, kids.
I do wonder where they were going in Canada. Like, is there a Canadian X Men? Like, what were those?
No, I think they were
What's the
just saying
Marvel
like,
Canadian Canada Force or
well,
something?
I mean that's kind of ridiculous. Like everything's kind of Alpha Flight.
Alpha
Alpha
Flight.
Flight.
Yeah, they were gonna go join
They're
Alpha Flight.
uh, that's kind of the ridiculous part of that scene in general is like I think what they're implying is that the United States has gone to pot and
Right.
but and these guys work for the government on some contractor like basis. They've got some government connection, obviously, because like most of them are troops and stuff.
Mhm.
And so I think what they're implying is as soon as they get across the border, like the government's not gonna do anything to them, which to me seems a little bit silly considering the fact that you're like actively murdering people and stuff. Like I think at that point they're probably
Yeah.
not gonna be like, oh man,
They chased him
like
across the entire country.
Smokey and the Bandit, like the cross county lines, and like he's just throwing his hat down, like, oh that bandit got me again. So I think that's just what they're doing is run for the border so they can't get captured. So
Yeah. Then we see the death of Wolverine. He gets impaled on a tree, and you're kind of wondering like why. If you're wondering like, well, he just heals. Kind of the subplot of this movie is Wolverine is sick, and it's kind of revealed like having the antimanium in his body these years has like made his healing factor less and less over the years until now it's non-existent at the end of the movie. Which I thought was like a good twist because I wondered kind of like how are they going to kill Wolverine if like if he has the healing factor they could cut his head off or whatever, but no, they did they basically took away his healing factor, so I thought that worked pretty well for me.
yeah. No, yeah, I like the twist that the adamantium was killing him, and the twist basically that he could probably do something about it, but he just wasn't. He's just like letting it kill it because like the doctor, he goes sees the doctor, and the doctor's like, "We can get you in for treatment," and he's just like, I'm Wolverine. I gotta go do Wolverine stuff," And then it's like Caliban. Caliban's a weird character. He's in this movie for some reason. He's played by Stephen Merchant. He says like, you got something sick inside of him, and Wolverine just ignores it. He's also his eyes are going. Oh, that was kind of a clever scene. But he's just getting old.
Yeah.
But he's letting it happen to himself, is what is implied.
Yeah,
Like,
he's ready to die pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything to prevent the adamantium from killing, which is good because the little girl's got adamantium. So, like, I guess they had to put that in there so you didn't think, oh man, that little girl's gonna get this cancer and die. And it's like, oh no, maybe she could be treated. Whatever. Yeah, the adamantium's always kind of weird though, because the climax of this movie is he gets killed. The clone gets killed by an adamantium bullet that Wolverine carries around with him, like in case he wants to commit suicide, I guess. But I don't know how that works physically, like, because if it's an unbreakable metal, I don't know how, seems to me like it'd be unbreakable hitting unbreakable, so nothing would happen.
Right.
Do the exact same, but no, it blows your head up like a T1000.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, I mean, Wolverine dies, which I guess you should expect,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of was expected, but I thought maybe they were gonna give him a happy ending because when I found out like all the other X-Men were dead, and then Professor X died, and then he's got all these kids, I thought that they might go with was they go to Canada and he starts a school up there and he's like the new, Professor X.
Yeah. They pull a Dark Knight basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Like old
just have
Bruce
him become.
Wayne's like teaching all the Bat kids
Yeah,
in the Bat cave at the end.
yeah, just yeah, giving him. Uh, yeah, he becomes the new Professor X. Like
Yeah.
I thought that might happen. Like in fact, when he got stabbed with the tree, I thought maybe he'd be paralyzed. I thought that would be like the twist. Like, be like they just go all out. Like oh, he's Professor X now. Um, but no, they went
Good
for
thing
the
we
full
kept that wheelchair around. Yeah.
they went for the full Shane ending.
Hmm.
Um, which I mean, you should expect considering they played Shane during the actual movie. So I guess you'd have to be kind of uh, like me. I guess I talked myself out of the obvious ending because I mean they literally show you the part where Shane is saying goodbye to the kid.
Right.
Like
Although
spoilers for Shane.
Shane doesn't die though, he just walks away. I think, right?
No, Shane dies, man.
He does.
Well, yeah, I mean he walks away, but everyone thinks Shane dies.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, he rides off, but he's wounded.
Hmm.
So it's left ambiguous, but I think
He doesn't get impaled on a tree at least.
he, yeah, no, that's how he gets wounded. It's weird. Shane fights a clone of Shane, and then he gets thrown into a tree. That movie took a weird turn for a western. Spoilers for Shane, everybody. Sorry. Go out and rent it. It's the first movie in the X-Men shared universe.
Shane was the first X-Men. Yeah, so good to great movie, which is nice. That's a good way to kind of kick off blockbuster season.
Yeah, I mean, there's some movies I'm actually kind of, I think the trailers for Guardians of the Galaxy have been pretty funny.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're excited for that. Callie and I are both.
And there's some coming up. There's Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, we got Power Rangers the week after that.
Oh, Power Rangers, yeah. I don't know what to think about Power Rangers.
I'm gonna go for sure.
Yeah.
And then we have the Wonder Woman. Kind of the new trailer came out.
Oh man, that trailer.
This week too, which I only watched once. I
Yeah.
don't remember a lot from it. I remember
I've watched. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I remember they were fighting. Kind of like a training montage back on her in her home, and then get kind of Chris Pine showing up, and then we get kind of some like wacky Wonder Woman in the real world for the first time, kind of wackiness going on.
Yeah. Yeah, little fish out of water comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds bad because I don't like doing this. I don't like putting 8-year-olds on blast or whatever. But that little girl in that trailer, that is the most hilarious line reading I've. One of my favorite scenes in any movie of all time is Mark Wahlberg in The Happening, because it's just full of like these weird line readings, and I like Mark Wahlberg actually. He's a good actor, but he has this scene in The Happening where he's like, "Did you guys read this article in the New York Times about the bumblebees disappearing?" It like doesn't sound anything like what a human being would say. And like this scene has this little girl, and she's like, "It's beautiful. Who would wield it?" I'm like, and she says it in this weird accent they're trying to pull off, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's so like, it's just so awkward, and so I'm like obsessed with that. So I just keep like thinking about it, and like I gotta watch that one more time.
It's the new shows up on the king tide.
Yeah.
He brings fish on the king tide.
Yeah. I'm just unnaturally fascinated by awkward line readings. They're like my favorite things in the world, because it's just like, why would they keep that in the movie? Why can't they just tell them to say it? a different way, you know. But
Yeah, and then we also got I think Spider-Man after that this summer.
oh yeah, Spider
And
Man.
I don't know if there's anything else for superhero stuff.
Yeah, I saw John Wick. I would recommend John Wick to anybody.
Yeah, I just saw the first one. I missed it. So we re-rented it the other night, and yeah, it was everyone said it that we talked to said it was good, and we really liked it. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll catch the second one in the cheap seats probably.
yeah. The second one's good. That's a great movie for people that if you don't care about story and it's entirely superfluous to you, um, and you just want great action scenes, that's a good movie. And I was very happy to see it. So
Nice. Well, I think we'll just kind of keep this episode a little shorter tonight. Went about an
yeah,
hour,
well,
and yeah, it was good talking to you, Jordan.
yeah, good talking with you.
And yeah, we'll have to do another one when some of our movies come out and or something else you want to talk about. So
Yeah, we got to go through the Resident Evil movies because I goddamn didn't watch those for no reason.
oh, you actually seen them all now?
I missed the last one because it
Okay,
went out of theaters too quick.
all right.
But
Well, we'll
yeah.
do it for sure because and we'll bring Callie in for that one because she watched all six of them with me too.
Oh man, that's
That's true love, is what it is.
yeah. I don't know. How are you so lucky? You live a charmed life, my friend.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.
See